welcome to today's core financial insight, which is retirement planning. So this is how we're going to approach this. So retirement planning, the topic, this particular core financial insight, I want to approach it very differently, and I'll explain why this is different. Retirement planning now and then, okay? This is the topic. So I'm going to do this in the context of what retirement planning is, why it is important to retirement plan, when do you do this, and how do you do this, okay? So let's start with what retirement planning is. Retirement planning is to prepare for that day or that season in life when you no longer work for a living, okay? You no longer have to work for a living. All of us need a source of income, okay? And in the first half of life, unless you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth, like Prince Charles and Prince William, you don't have to worry about money, but most of us have to, right? We need a source of income, and that comes from employment, from work. But there comes a season in life, either because you intend for it to happen, okay, because you want it, or you might be forced into it by your employers, or other reasons come, and I'll explain why. You no longer work for a living either through employment or self-employment, okay? That means, you take your time to do other things other than, for your source of income, all right? So that's what it is, in a nutshell. That's what retirement planning is. So why do you have to do this? First of all, because of age. You might have to do this because of age, okay? In Canada, the retirement age is 67 now, or is it still 60? The traditional retirement age was 65 when the pensions start. Now they've moved it up to 67, I believe, okay? And in the European countries, in some countries it's as early as 55, okay? They don't work very hard, which is why they have the problems that they have today. Entitlement mentality. Okay, you might have to retire because of your health, okay? Your health goes, and for that reason you're not able to work anymore, okay? And that will happen, and this is what we sensitize people in asking them to take proper and adequate insurance, because that's one of the two dangers that threaten all of us, running out of health, okay? Sooner or later, because of the fall, we know why, the kingdom people, why this happens, but eventually it'll go. Very interesting, somebody asked me what book I'm reading right now, and I'm reading a book by Brad Wilson, the fellow who appears on Dragon's Den, very kindly man, and the story of his life, Success Redefined. And I got to the part where he was talking about how, he had two major tragedies in his life, where the day that his divorce was settled, and he got the phone call from the lawyer at 11 o'clock, that, okay, everything is done now, officially you're single again, because, everything is finished now, it's completed. Within an hour or two, he also got a phone call from his doctor, because he had gone in for some tests and whatnot, and the report came back conclusively that he has prostate cancer, okay? So, and, this guy was, he jeopardized his family, jeopardized his health, okay, in pursuit of wealth. And so he says, it really jolted me out of my, of my complacency, and I had to rethink, my priorities. And what bothered me was, and I was very excited when I got to that part, because he says I reordered my priorities, and I was curious to see how he reordered them. And the first one was health, okay? And the reason I'm disappointed is because mine is the first one is God, okay? It's got to be God, because, we're just temporarily here. There's an eternal purpose. But of course, in the world. So he puts health, and I said to myself, what's the point of having health? I mean, you can take care of your health as much as you want. When you come to your 70s, 80s, eventually it's going to go, right? You can't stop it, right? Anyways, his was health, and I didn't, all of us, no matter how you take care of yourself, eventually it's going to go, okay? So you're going to have to retire either because of age, mandatory retirement, that's out there in your place of employment or otherwise. You might have to retire because of health, because your health is gone, okay? You just can't do this anymore, right? Not, the energy is not there, and the health challenges are there, so you can't do it. And the third reason that you might retire is by choice. You've seen the writing on the wall, okay? That this is not going to go on forever, and you prioritize, and those mountains that you want to climb, the things that you want to do, okay? Whether it's if you're a kingdom person, okay, for eternal purposes, and if you're a non-kingdom person, whatever it is, you'll get the sense that time is running out, okay? I'll give you an example of that. Warren Buffett, because I'm wired this way, I'm into money and finances and whatnot. Warren Buffett, when he was 75 in 2006, saw the writing on the wall, okay? Like he was successful at what he did, right? And he saw the writing on the wall that, look, this is not going to last forever. I'm not going to be here forever. And so at age 75, he gave away 99% of his wealth, okay? And to charities, mainly to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, because that's the way Warren is. I say Warren as though he's my best friend or first name. He had been watching them for 10 years. He's very conservative. He never does things, in a hurry. And he had been watching the Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation for 10 years. And as a result of that, he gave them the lion's share of that 99%, okay, to help them continue to do their mission was, which is to eradicate AIDS and malaria from Africa, from the continent of Africa. All right, so this is why you got to retirement plan, because if you don't, it'll catch you off guard, okay? These reasons will catch you off guard, and you'll find that, look, you can't do it. I remember I had a client once, and they were in their 80s when I was dealing with them. And when was the Winter Olympics was in Italy at one time. What country? Anybody remembers what in Italy at one time? One of the cities in Italy, they had the Winter Olympics. Does anybody remember what city it was? Anyways, I went to visit them, and had to get some documents signed, and they were in their living room, and these guys had tons of money, right? So they were in their living room watching the Winter Olympics, and this is what they do. They're retired, they've got nothing, watch the big screen TV watching the Winter Olympics. So I walk in there to get some signatures, and I'm seeing how excited they were, so I said, why don't you guys hop on a plane and go and see this live? They both looked at me incredulously, like they said, we go to the grocery store within half a kilometer away. When we come back, we're tired, and you want us to take a plane. So you see, age does things to you, right? Even if you have all the other things. So you have to do these things before you get there. You know what I'm saying? Or rearrange before it's too late, and you can't do it. All right? Okay, so that's the what, that's the why. So when do you start planning for retirement? Now. Okay? You cannot get there and find that, you want to retire. Retire on what? Okay? You can't retire if certain things don't happen. Okay? So my theory is, look, you retire now, pre-retirement in your 20s, you start. The sooner you start planning, the better, okay? And I'll tie this into the GPS process, because wherever you encounter the GPS process, whether in your 20s, whether in your 30s, whether in your 40s, okay? Because if you don't, because we're going to talk retire now. Retirement then is when you actually retire. Okay, if you don't take the steps, retirement is not an option. It is for this reason that when you go, out in the world, you see in retail establishments, gray hat people, white hat people, and sometimes they look like they're very tired. Okay, I see really. And they are either there because they just want to get out of the house and be amongst people because they're lonely, or it could be because they need the money, okay? And I hope it's not because they need the money, because it's very sad, right, for them to be in that position. So unless you plan, you're not going to be able to retire. It's not going to be an option, and it's just going to create a lot of financial stress for you. I'm told that for some seniors who didn't retirement plan, the choice at the end of the month is always medication, rent, or food. Okay, they have to pick. Okay, something has to go. They compromise on the food. They can't compromise on the rent, so it's medication and food. Okay, so we don't want to be in that position because there's a better way of doing it. All right. So what's retirement when? Now, hence the title of this topic, retirement planning now and then. So I want to sensitize you to the fact that wherever you are, whether you're in your 20s or 30s or 40s, okay, if you hope to retire someday, you got to be doing it now, okay, and we'll tie it in with how the GPS process can help you do that. All right, retirement then, post-retirement. Now, there is a trend to retire early. People take their retirements early, and especially we work in places where there are defined benefit pension plans. They allow you to retire early as 50, 55. Okay, in the military, if you know people who are in the military, D&D, some people get into the military at a very young age, 18, 19. They come out of school, they don't know what they want to do, and I know one client who's like that. So they join the military, and I believe Ben is in the military. I think after 20, 25 years, you can retire, something like that? 25 years service?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much for exactly, but 60 you have to retire.
60 you have to. But my experience is that if you are in the military, after 20 or 25 years, you can, if you want, retire. Okay? Like the pension plan is structured such that you can retire. So on more than one occasion, I've met people who are retiring. I remember about 10 years ago, I was doing property, 10, 15 years ago when I first came to Halifax, I was doing property and casualty insurance for a company that moved me here. And I had to go and see someone to get some signatures for their auto insurance out in Timberley. And this girl worked for the military. And so she says to me, I was just doing, getting to know her. So she says to me, she told me her story. She said, when she finished high school, last year of high school, she was just a wild person. She just liked to party and all of that. And she said, I think the last semester or the semester before her school was out, she just one day was so bored in a class, she just walked out, okay? And she walked out and she was roaming around and she saw this forces office. And she just walked in and had a chat with a guy, and the guy was telling her how you can apply for this. And she said, I applied. And she said, I figured this is better than, what I found so boring back there. So she joined the military, and they posted it in a lot of different places. And finally, after about, 5, 10 postings, she ended up back home, and she told me this is her final posting, right? And she said to me, what's funny? She says, I walked out. I didn't even finish high school, okay? And she said, I have friends who went on to university, finished school, went on to university, and got married. And she says, today, I have got a car, I've got a good income. And she says, the hours, she said, and no reflection on D&D here. She says, I'm not stressed out where I work. She says, I go up, I go to work, and it takes about half an hour for us to start up, and we take a break, and then and she said, I'm not stressed out. And when I compare myself to my friends, right, they're also stressed out where they work, and they can't even afford to go out in an evening. She says, if I want to go out with my friends, I have to go and pick all of them up because they have no cars. You see? Okay? So it can be a good thing. And she was also the one who was telling me that, very early I'm going to be able to retire. And about 10, 15 years ago, at the same time, Charles Trombley, who's a Christian here in our church, brother in our church, he invited me to go and speak to the Navy divers, because the clearance divers that he's a part of, they invite speakers from outside. And Charles said, why don't you come and speak? Okay? And because I was in the property casualty mode at that time, I prepared talks on how to save on your car insurance. So when I got there, must have been about 30 divers there. And so Charles said, you go sit in front with the commander there. And I sat down and waiting for them to introduce me. So the commander of the base or the camp was beside me, and he turns to me, we introduce ourselves to each other, and he says, what are you going to speak about? So I said I was going to speak about car insurance and how to save on car insurance. He said, that's interesting. He said, but you know what you should speak to them about? He said, maybe at a later time. He said, you should speak to these guys about what to do with their money, because he said, many of them take their retirement in their mid-40s after having completed their 20, 25 years, and they don't know what to do with that money because they get a retiring allowance, okay? And, they just go and blow it. They get into things that, and many of them lose it. So on the spot, right, I said, sure, I'll do it. So I went up there and I said, I'm going to change my topic. I'm going to talk about the rule of 72. So I told them, I asked the commander, how much do they get? He said about 50,000. So I told them that in your mid-40s, how to use 50,000 if you pick the right investments, how it can double using the rule of 72. So that was another incident where, people retire early, and you see that more and more. And if you have planned your retirement well, and especially us kingdom people, okay, when you have a layer of insurance, you have you're completely debt-free, you have a 6-month emergency fund, you've got a war chest that's enough to take care of your needs, okay, the income is, you can go, okay, do what you need to do, right? You don't have to work anymore, and you can do that at whatever age, all right? But the traditional retirement, and in the 60s, a lot of people retire in the 60s, again for those reasons, either because of age, by health, or because of choice, okay? But the traditional retirement age, and does anybody know if they actually moved the official retirement age pension to 67?
Old age, to get old age pension,
Yes.
anybody born after 1958 has to wait another 67.
Okay, okay, so that's anybody born after 1958. Right? Somewhere, that's a cutoff. You can only start this used to be the traditional retirement age. Why? Because people will plan, because that's when the government pensions kicked in, Old Age Security and Canada Pension Plan, and it was the typical so now for those born after 58, that looks like all of you, it'll be that age. Okay. Why do you have to do this even post-retirement? Okay, and this is where the danger is, because pre-retirement, okay, in your 20s, 30s, 40s, you have to do this, because if you don't do this, what are you going to retire on? You cannot retire. Okay, post-retirement, you still have to retirement plan. Why? Because you don't want to run out of money before you run out of time. You follow? And the worst thing, this is where I think you get people coming out of retirement. Okay, and people having to take on part-time jobs to supplement their retirement, and this is why you find gray-haired, white-haired, very senior-looking people, very tired-looking people in retail outlets, because they need the money, okay? Because there's not enough money, okay? We don't want to be in that position, because you will run out of time, run out of money. After the global financial crisis, 2008, 2009, a lot of people had to readjust their retirement, okay? Because financial advisors, investment advisors were projecting all kinds of things, and it just changed everything, right? New realities came into play, and they had to make major adjustments. All right. So how do you do this? Okay. My theory is, as a bare minimum, okay, no pie in the sky. Okay. You can do this. You have to be debt free. Okay. You have to be debt free, and you have to have investment income. Okay? That will be supplemented by any other sources of income that you might have. If you were lucky and you worked in employments where there was pension income, those will kick in. Okay? And if you have been financially responsible, and especially if you've been following the GPS process, you will have all kinds of investment income, streams of investment income, depending on whether you diversified or you left it all in the war chest. Okay? So, as a bare minimum, okay, in order to retire, you need to be completely debt-free. Okay, the worst thing you want to do is, okay, but the masses out there, they think nothing of, I'm going to retire, but there's still a mortgage on the house, they still have car loans, and they still have credit card, like, how do you retire on that? You'll have no peace, you know what I'm saying, to retire. So, make sure that these two things happen, okay? These are essentials, bare essentials if you want to retire. You have to work towards becoming completely debt-free and having investment income, all right? And both of these are just a natural course of the GPS process, okay? The GPS process naturally takes you there, routinely takes you there, okay? All right. I was going to say that either I missed the slide or I didn't see it. Tradition, just to speak on how it's done out there. Traditionally, this is how we do it. Okay, we say no pie in the sky. Just focus on two things. Keep it very simple. Okay, make sure that you're completely debt free now and going forward, and especially when you retire. And And second, make sure you have investment income, okay? As financial advisors, as Roone153 Financial Advisors, our message to people out there is live on the income of your investments. Don't eat into the investments, okay? It's like seed money, okay? Don't be eating the capital, right? Live off the investment income. So we build the war chest, and then we do that. So let me just, so again, we had a whole session on, we do this, but it bears repeating. So this is how the GPS process will help you. In taking the minimum of 25% of income and distributing it, you come to this point. This is what you'll be doing. Whether you start in your 20s or 30s or 40s, this is what you'd be doing in the 10 steps, okay? You get to here. This is what the first few steps are. And you get to here, which is the back end, which is step number 9, is invest, stay frugal, and invest until you've got an investment portfolio of $10 million. And for those people, that April alluded to, who are coming into the GPS process very late, who are young and who've got lots of time ahead of them, or those who earn high incomes and they are challenged by the high taxes that they pay, okay? We encourage them to use some of these other instruments with caution that no more than maximums of 25%, so you get diversification. And by the way, diversification is biblical, okay? In Ecclesiastes 11:2, it says, give portions to 7 or to 8 because you do not know what disaster may come upon the land. And in other versions, I've seen NLT and Message, I think, where they specifically talk about diversifying your businesses or investing in several businesses or not putting all of your investments in one basket, okay? So this is biblical, what we're suggesting here. And if you did that, the idea was to boost the retirement, the return here, okay? And you do that because you want your war chest, okay, to grow. Okay, if you retire on 10,000, okay, the income coming from 10,000 is very little, okay? So if you boost it, okay, bring it up to 100, bringing it up to 250, bringing it up to 500, 1 million, and the ultimate goal is 10 million, and for some of us it's doable, and some of us, will never get past any this or that or somewhere here. This is very normal, okay? In my experience, when I meet people in their 50s, 60s, or who are retiring, this is what they typically have, okay? Because nobody ever showed them how to do this or this, okay? You do what we tell you to do, you will get there, okay? Because of what we do. And especially in the business investing, the fastest way to make money is to invest in businesses, okay? Yesterday we were at a church, and what was funny was as we were coming out, a little kid, 9-year-old kid, was mowing the lawn because his granddad is the pastor of the church, and the granddad gave him a contract to do the lawn from June to August for $500. So I was telling the dad, I said, isn't that interesting? I said, I told him, I said, when I do my investment workshops, I tell the story of how business is the fastest way to make money, and I give the illustration of 2 teenagers who put up a lemonade stand, right? And I said, if 2 teenagers put up a lemonade stand and worked only the month of August, okay, and all they did was sold lemonade during the hottest month of August, and sold lemonade for $1 a piece, and the parents had given them $300 to start this business just for 1 month, and telling them that at the end of the month we want our money back, okay? I asked him, how many lemonades do you think those kids could sell per day? He said 200. So then I asked April Rose, and she said 100. So I used 150. So I said, look, if the kids are selling 150 lemonades per day, they make $150 a day, right? And they do that for 6 days a week. We don't work on the Sabbath. So that's $900, right? $900 by 4 weeks is $3,600. So the kids put in some time. This kid is working all summer and is making $500. Give them $500 each. 2 kids, right? Give them $500 each. Take off $1,000. You're still left at $2,600. $2,600 on $300 is like 700%, right? You see how powerful business is? Okay, provided you find the right one. So when we say that this is doable, this is very doable, provided you pick the right investments, okay? So as I've been saying, this is not complicated. The world has made it complicated, okay? This business of managing money and building wealth is really in four steps, okay? The first is 5 steps, if you will. The first is to make sure that you're tithing. The second is to make sure that you're insured, okay? Because you have things that are beyond your control, and most people that I meet are underinsured. They're hoping it doesn't happen to them. They're hoping that the employer will address it. They're hoping the government will address it. All of those don't fly, okay? Do it yourself, okay? And then get out of debt. Stay out of debt, okay? If you do that, your money is not going out of the window paying someone 19.99% interest, okay? The faster you get into that mode of, buying things cash and not getting into debt, you're already starting to get ahead of the game. Minimize your taxes, okay? Pay the least amount of taxes possible. You're halfway there already. Just watch these things, you're halfway there already. And then the other half of that challenge is making sure you pick the right investment. Because I've seen people do all of these things, and then they take their money and put it in the stock market and, to lose it there, all right? The Roone153 Financial Advisors Ministry, the franchisee investors that we're bringing in, when I'm meeting with them, 21% is what 21% return, okay? I show them the numbers because we're not taking your money and putting it in the stock market. We are doing work, okay? Actually going on the ground, empowering people, changing the way they think, and, moving their business to us. And the projection is the franchisee investors will have a minimum 21% return, okay? And if our financial advisors do an average job, they will end up with 98%. As a 29-year-old financial advisor, I know those are ridiculous numbers, okay? But we know what we're doing, and if you know what you're doing, like the lemonade thing, okay, this is possible, right? So very possible. All right, so that's my thing on retirement. Now, if you compare this, if you speak to other financial advisors, their way of doing retirement, they'll give you complicated, they even have a software on retirement planning, okay? And typically what they do is they try to project what it is you're going to need, okay? What is coming in, and they try to make sure that the investments you put in will get you there, right? We have simplified this with the GPS process, okay? You stay focused on getting out of that, staying out of that, being insured, giving, and then investing properly, okay? Because in the war chest, your deposits are guaranteed, okay? They're not only guaranteed, they're boosted, they're insured. So it's a better way of doing it. So stick to the GPS process, because out there, it's hit and miss at best. And this is why people have to come out of retirement. Because 95% of investment advisors out there put your money in the stock market, okay, in one form or other, okay? It's only about 5% that I've seen who are sophisticated enough to do their own direct investing in the stock. Now that's changing a little because of discount brokerage houses, and also because of the way the banks are promoting it. Because whatever bank you deal with, they all have a discount brokerage house, and they always try to get you to open an investment account, okay, in addition to your savings, checking, other banking. All right? Okay, any questions on retirement planning up to now? On anything that we've spoken about, on the GPS process? No? So summary, in conclusion then, just stick to the GPS process, and retirement planning takes care of itself, okay? Because that's what we advocate, okay? All the things that you need to retire will happen just in the natural course of things, okay? Because by the time you get to step number 9, you're completely debt-free. You're already starting to have investment income, and the challenge is just to boost that war chest, okay? And the other 3 things that we do, going into real estate, going into the stock market, and business investing, as soon as we've made our money, we dump it back in the war chest, okay? Because that's a safer place. That's why we call it the war chest, okay? When we make our 15% in the stock market, when we make our 30% in tax sales and foreclosures, okay? As soon as the transaction is completed, we take the profits and we dump it back into the war chest. And the whole idea is to make the war chest as big as possible, so that at the time when you do have to hang up your shoes because of age, because of health, or by choice, okay, you're ready to go. And then the next session, we're going to talk about estate planning. This is when we talk about how you pass this on to the next 2 generations. Okay, this is what you have built, what you've been, with hard work. It doesn't come easy. It takes discipline. It takes, foregoing instant gratification, because if you're not functioning on credit, there is no instant gratification. Okay, you got to wait until you have the money before you buy things. But all of that is going to be rewarded with the war chest, in the sense that you'll have peace. And beyond that, in the next session, we're going to talk about estate planning. We'll show you how to pass this on to the next 2 generations without having to give a good chunk of it to the government, because they will take it away from you if you don't plan it. Okay? And a lot of people get caught off guard. It came broadsided by that, and you don't want to be that. Okay? You want to do a few things to make sure that that doesn't happen. All right? Any questions before we bring this to a close? No? Okay, I want to thank you for taking the time out to come. I want to commend you. This is Saturday morning, okay? In that book, Brett Wilson's book that I'm reading, Success Redefined, and he was saying that when he had cancer, he's part of he's part of a group. See, when people are not in the kingdom, they try to find support elsewhere, right? And his main support, he's from Winnipeg, and his main support is from the Young Presidents Organization. So in the book, he keeps mentioning how people in that group, okay, supported him. And when he was having cancer, this guys, came to help him. Came on. One guy even flew down with him, in support of him. Okay, you guys can help us. Okay, I want to commend you because you took the time to be here. It's not easy, but you did. So you can help us because you are here because you obviously find value in what we're doing, right? There are many people out there who are not, okay? And so you can help them. Be advocates for us. In the next 90 days, in casual conversations, dinner conversations, the topic of finances and money will come up, okay? If you see people struggling around you, point them to us. Point them to our website, talk about some of the things we do. April Rose is going to be the new face in HRM, okay? Point people to her. Refer people to her. It'll help her make her job easier to reach these people, okay? So if there are no further questions, please take some time to complete the feedback and survey questionnaire that is there. And I will see you in 90 days, in October. Right? Thank you very much. God bless you.